Hi, I'm James and I like games, and thanks to lockdown I am now more hare than man. Pandemic is a disturbingly topical at time of recording cooperative board game that I've played loads with family, friends, live on stage with a doctor and on my own on the app and on Steam, wishing I was more popular. So based on all the hundreds of games that I've played and so that I can chalk that all up to research, here are my tips to help you win at Pandemic, and because this is the internet, they're in the form of a conveniently numbered list. Disclaimer: one of the things we love about Pandemic is just how hard it is, and sometimes you do get a bad break with the cards, which means you are going to lose anyway, so these tips are all about maximising your chances. Warning: there is at least one controversial opinion coming up that you will oppose with every fibre of your being. Tip number 1. Delay the first outbreak as long as you can. Yes, I know you were doing that anyway, and that is kind of the point of the game, but let me explain what I mean. At heart, Pandemic is a set collecting game. You will need 5 cards of one colour to cure the disease, and you need to do that 4 times. The 2 things that stop it being as simple as that are passing cards to other players depends on where you are on the board, and there are 3 countdowns that you're racing against. Countdown 1, the player card's running out, and you can't do anything about that. But Countdown 2, cubes running out, and Countdown 3, 8 outbreaks occurring, are things you can do something about. Outbreaks occurring exacerbate your countdown conundrum, and before you can say good morning, that's a nice Tinetten bar, you're deep in the slobblocks. Ideally, you need to deal with any city with 3 cubes as soon as you can. Your first turn should be focused on just doing that, even if it means having to burn a card you'd rather keep, or putting off passing someone else a card until a later turn. There will always be more cards. Probably. See, each colour has 12 cards and you need 5 of them to cure the disease. That leaves 7 cards. Of those, it's likely that a couple will be among the last cards of the deck that come out too late to be of any real use, which means you've got 4 or 5 extra cards of each colour to play with. And you can use those to fly around the board, and it's much better to get a use out of them than having to discard them because of hand limit. I mean, it is possible for the last 8 cards in the deck to be all of the same colour, but what are the chances of that happening? No, really, I couldn't work it out. Any mathematicians, please put the answer in the comments. Thank you. If there are 2 3-cube cities next to each other, you've got to deal with that as soon as you possibly can, because that stuff will kill you. Avoiding outbreaks early on buys you the time to do the set collecting. Tip number 2. Let the rolls use their skills. Each of the 7 rolls in the base game has a particular set of skills. On your turn, look to see how you can use your roll special ability to help the team. If you're the dispatcher, look to see who needs to move. If you're the operations expert, maybe use one of your actions to build a little wooden hut. Sorry, I mean high-tech, state-of-the-art, cutting-edge scientific research station. If you're the quarantine specialist, position yourself in a city with a lot of links. Istanbul and Hong Kong have the most. Just don't end up in Santiago. Stupid Santiago. Tip number 3. Maximise your event cards. These 5 cards are incredibly useful, and as long as they're not languishing near the bottom of the deck, seriously, what are the odds? You're going to be using them, but make sure you pick the right time. 3 of them, One Quiet Night, Forecast and Resilient Population, should be played immediately after epidemics. They effectively nullify the consequences by buying you more time to deal with the new infection hotspots, or just removing them from the game altogether. In an introductory game, that's potentially 3 out of the 4 epidemics. And of course, it goes without saying you should never discard them without using them. Which brings us to tip number 4. The rules of Pandemic clearly state, shuffle the roll cards and deal 1 face up in front of each player. And in a 2-player game, that can really help with the replayability, because otherwise you just pick the scientist and the researcher, and as long as you basically hang around with each other, you can win the whole game without really trying. But let's just say you're playing a 4-player game in heroic mode, and you've decided you're going to let people choose their roles. So who do you pick? Who are the dream team? Well, when I asked a bunch of Pandemic players, they overwhelmingly voted for the medic, scientist, researcher and dispatcher, which it turns out I can't spell. Now, my theory is that the roles can break down into attacking and defensive players. Your attacking players are the people who get the cards moving around to help you cure the disease. So the researcher is the most attacking player, as well as maybe the scientist. And the defensive players are the ones who stop outbreaks occurring. So your medic, your quarantine specialist. The dispatcher and the operations expert are a mix of both. And the contingency planner, well, what do they even do? Ideally, you need a mix of attacking and defensive players to help you win. It's all very well dealing with the infection hotspots, but if you can't get the cards to the right people, the player deck will run out. Or you can concentrate on moving the cards around, but the outbreaks will get you. With that in mind, here are the 4 roles you should be picking in a 4-player game on Heroic Mode. First of all, the Dispatcher and the Researcher. These are your Xavi and Iniestas. Did I just make a football analogy on a board game video? Who is that reference even for? These two are your best bet for winning the game. The Researcher is effectively a wild hand with extra storage for each other player, and the Dispatcher means you can move them to where they need to be. Then there's the People's Champion, the Medic. Their super treating ability is priceless, particularly early on when you're trying to deal with the 3 cube cities. And that effectiveness is doubled when the Dispatcher can move them into position. And the 4th role you should choose is the Contingency Planner. But everybody hates him. Yeah, and they're wrong. Apart from the 2 people who voted for the Contingency Planner, those people are geniuses. Now, to be fair, his effectiveness does depend on a fairly even distribution of the event cards. But in theory, the Contingency Planner enables the team to minimise the consequences of 6 epidemics. Which, by the way, is how many epidemics there are in the Heroic Mode. And that gives you the best chance of winning. So tip number 4 is, use the Contingency Planner. Disagree? Come at me in the comments. Pandemic is often cited as a gateway game, one of the games we use to trick non-playing people into joining our cult. Playing Pandemic in real life with actual people in that context, the real game becomes, can you get your friends to want to play this again? So with that in mind, tip number 5 is, don't quarterback. Quarterbacking is that thing where one player starts directing what everyone else should do on their moves. If you're the most experienced Pandemic player at the table, do not do that. Even if it means letting your friends make moves that you believe to be suboptimal, which, by the way, you might be completely wrong about. Now, this can be difficult because if everyone knows that you've played Pandemic a lot, they turn to you for advice when they're in a tricky situation. Because no one wants to be the player who ruins the game for the whole team. So here's what you should do. Give options. Give them 2 or 3 things that they could do and let them make the choice. Your friends will have much more fun having ownership of their actions and losing than they would if you just dictated the game to them and you won. In Pandemic, the real cure is the friends we made along the way. Those are my top tips, guys. If you don't like them, I have others. Comment below where you agree and disagree. If you've enjoyed this video, why not subscribe? I got a bunch of videos of comedians playing board games. They're a lot of fun. Loads there for you to watch. If you've really enjoyed it, why not become a Patreon backer for as little as $1 a month? And you'll get to see your name in lights just like these fine people. And you can get your hands on some exclusive merch. There's nothing in it. My name's James, I like games and now hopefully you do too. Ta-ra!